The head of client development at Realeyes. During his career, Peter has consistently focused on innovative solutions to help deliver great advertising. Today, he will talk about the effectiveness of 6-second videos compared to videos of 15 and 30 seconds. Put your hands together for Peter Haslett.
Short can be sweet. That won't be my presentation, perhaps. I think as the introduction said, we're here. We're, I think, at that very top end, focusing on the facial coding part of neuromarketing and neuromarketing research. And I guess, speaking to some of you're hearing a lot more about all the different methodologies and the depth that we can get. We're clearly, as I say, at that topper end. We're focused on scale. Scale, that means that via online and via webcams capturing that data, we are capturing that data in more perhaps natural settings, especially as we move into the mobile area and capturing facial coding on handhelds. We're excited about getting into that kind of area. It's great to hear Facebook and others are also struggling with what are the differences going to be versus capturing it on a computer, a PC, or a laptop. But given the scale and that reach that we can get very quickly, it does allow us a different approach to give clients that information very quickly, very early in the creative stages, so we can do breadth of campaigns. With narratives, we can do competitive data sets. A lot of clients come and say, we don't really get competitive analysis. What our competitors are doing, how are different audiences responding to that different content of that ad that's driving us crazy. So again, it gives us that top scale line at quite a granular level very quickly. So clients are finding it quite useful.
Alexa, where's the nearest jewelry store? Alexa, Wikipedia wolf spider?
So as we know with most of the neuromarketing, our data is collected. Right? So with the facial coding, the data is collected, whether it's on a mobile or a PC. And what we're finding with that ability to collect data, it can be any kind of video content that we are specializing in particular. We've done a recent study, actually 2 of them, with Vídeo, a premium content provider out of the US. And one of the things that they wanted to look at was the effect of advertising when it's placed within different forms of premium content. And what kind of differences does it make? And one of the interesting things we found that they didn't really expect was there's a bit of a symbiotic relationship, and a positive one of that, between ads and content. So, first thing they did was just look at a content-only baseline, and then we looked at that same content when it had ad breaks, ad pods, beginning, middle, sort of an end type of thing. And although not a huge impact, it's a positive. Advertising had a positive impact in terms of us detecting emotional engagement in the content itself. Now we also looked at the reverse of that. What happens when you put advertising in content? And in this case, what we define as premium content. And what we found there was a huge effect. So if we looked at the ads alone, like a lot of our testing environments are, traditional research is just looking at the ad in one set. We say we put it in premium content. What we found from an emotional engagement standpoint was that increased significantly. Now there's a lot of other stuff that I think some of your technologies would be able to go much deeper and say, well, where's the meaningful, what is the brand impact, what's the effect, what's the relevance. But just from an emotional engagement standpoint, a very significant difference. The other thing that we found, again, looking at content in this way, was as we look at ad pods, lower load factors, if you will, have better results for the emotional engagement. So, we can start getting data around our emotions within a content and quality and a media allocation kind of thing that will help as we move into different ways video is consumed. And obviously I'm going to talk a little bit more about shorter content versus longer content in this presentation. So the ad that I showed you earlier, is that, how clients are using the data is to put it out there tonight, get it back in the morning. You're going to get something like this. I just wanted to explain a few of the metrics as I go into shorter versus longer content that you look at. It's always the squiggly lines that we always see here. That ad that I showed you for Amazon, very 15-second ad, but clearly did a great job at the time introducing the echo of getting attention very quickly. Our metrics at the bottom here, we have the squiggly line, but we also try to do a very high 30,000-foot look at the advertising first, just to help clients say, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, am I kind of one end or the other, or am I in the middle? It's not a place it's a great place to start, it's a horrible place to stop. And that's made up of that 1 to 10 rating based on 4 key factors that I think everyone in the room would agree are important. Did I get that attention in the first 6 seconds? Did they sit up? Did they take notes? Did I disrupt them in some way? Did I hold that? And how did I do at holding that kind of attention? In terms of engaging any kind of emotions, negative, positive, whatever it is, that all-encompassing, any kind of facial expression, have I got some momentum through the ad? I don't like to see that heading down. And then lastly, because it's brand advertising, am I leaving a lasting positive impression? So we're going back to kind of to kindness rule, peak end rule. So again, are we leaving a lasting positive impression? So this ad, I think, which is great for clients anyway, and the creatives seem to like it, is they go, oh good, I'm glad you recognized it. At the beginning, it is negative. People are kind of going, what the? And then you see the pivot into positivity, and I heard someone talking earlier, right? Having high negatives is not often a bad thing, especially if you do see a pivot to the positivity. So getting into the duration, I don't think there's any surprise here. Our data clearly shows, when you look at sort of an overarching scoring system of emotional engagement, shorter ads are less emotionally engaging than longer content. I don't think anyone would say a big shocker. You see kind of a quicker drop-off as you move towards the under 10-second length videos. Now ours, from just an emotional standpoint, engagement, expression, if you will, about that 80% of a 30-second spot. And why? Well, I think it makes sense, right? Longer ads, you get into the storytelling. I've got a narrative to tell, I'm able to tell it, I'm able to build a certain pace and get people engaged in my story. And stories, as we know, are easily retold, are easily put into the context of our personal lives, and hence that's what makes them stick, and that's what makes us engage, and clearly they're system one. And we've seen that when we look at the total database, stories versus non-storied approaches, and of course we saw it in a specific luxury study amongst high net worth. Luxury, they often take what a magazine would be, we call it the lookbook, they just do image, flash, 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 all the poses, and clearly when they put it into a more of a storied approach, it was significantly more engaging too. But then, specifically as we move to 6 second, and I've heard a number of people talking right from the introduction yesterday to now, I mean the whole world is kind of going towards shorter. So 6 second content or 6 second advertising is really a product of our environment. We're all more digitally distracted. We've got more things going on. And I say we all, because probably all of us in the room are part of the multitasking generation. But our data showed a few things. One, clearly short ads work, and they work better with, unsurprisingly perhaps, teenagers. They're a little bit more used to short content. They're on the platforms where short content is served. They are the ones watching shorter video, just the content that they're watching. So again, they're more likely to be emotionally engaged when we shoot a group of 30 videos for a Snapchat study we did with short content. But in that sense, some of our key learning was cutting it short doesn't really work. So I'm sure you've seen it. Maybe if you're working like we are with a longer piece of content, and a client comes and says, well, one of the things that we want to do is we roll out the campaign, is know how to take this 2-minute trailer. Once that goes out, we've got to have the 1 and the minute, we've got to have the 30-second, the 15-second, and the 6-second, depending on the platform and how we're rolling out the campaign. And shockingly still, a number of clients are doing the, I'm just going to say it a little faster, and they do a 6-second ad. And of course, that doesn't work, right? It doesn't even work with teens, to be honest. So it's something to be taking into consideration. And again, looking at sort of that very high level raw data, I mentioned that ability to get attention early, quickly. That's not the issue with 6-second spots. So when you looked at elements of surprise and disruption that we're detecting with facial coding, there's no difference between a 6-second and a 2-minute. We are talking about the first 6 seconds. So they're doing a good job of that. What 6 seconds probably more naturally struggles with, as I mentioned earlier, is that ability to engage a lot of emotions. We don't have time for a story. So what does that mean? We've got to do something a little simpler, probably a little bit more focused, and start thinking about campaign effects and messaging within. So here's a few ads you can see.
Boy, Snapchatters, get free data every month on EE Pay As You Go.
Four different ads. You're like me. A lot happened, right? In literally 24 seconds. In 24 seconds there. But what you've got is 4 ads, and they happen to be in a particular order. That was my media fellow, colleague, putting them in that order. That first video for gift gap, you can see that for Snapchat platform, it was clearly made for Snapchat. Swipe up, swipe up, swipe up. But when you swiped up, there was the next place to land. And again, they just went, all I need to do is get them to swipe up. And then I got them in the detail that I want, and I've got more time. So if you're thinking in a Snapchat environment, they just said, I don't need to explain the whole message necessarily, because this is mobile. We're in an active environment. This campaign isn't about leave a branded message. I've left a little one here, but swipe up to find the information you need. The next one, links, gave us a lot more information. And we saw here that was kind of interesting. It started high, got the attention quite early. The graphics, guy doing his body wash. Again, we held it at a good level above what we'd say is a good level of positive engagement. And then you saw as the brand came in, the what's this for? The negative, which is kind of a bad word. We have to be careful how we use negative emotions, at least from a Realeyes perspective, because this was really predominantly confusion. But still, there was a lot of positive going on. And then, that's who it's for, and you see that it drops. So again, very focused, able to do a good job bringing the brand and keep that positivity high. When we got to EE, so everything everywhere, mobile provider, talking about all the promotions and everything, this is one that started to move into, there's a lot of information there in 6 seconds to absorb, and you keep hitting me with it. Now, it happened to be the same message, but there was a lot more processing going on. So I got their attention early, and then I kept on, and then it started to wane. perhaps okay, because I got such a good, the message is in there quite early. It would be interesting to see if they needed the rest of that ad, right? You got away with a 2-second spot. And then lastly, we had the helmets. And here's where what we would interpret the data as saying is there was a lot of confusion there, and a lot of reading, and a lot of furrowed eyebrows. Right? And no sort of aha or simplicity. So were they taking away much of the message? Now some of the follow-up survey we do said they kind of got that there was mayonnaise, but they didn't really take away what was being said for the brand. Right? So there was stats still left, and it happened so quickly that the processing didn't register down. So this is the kind of stuff that you can get quite quickly and start to imagine. The client says at a very early stage, there's a bunch of 6 seconds I want to do, or here's a campaign that I want to do. Which are the best routes? Which are the best things to highlight, if you will, and not necessarily take it from how do I cut it down so I can tell the whole story in 10 seconds. How can I tell really focused, sharp, relevant aspects of the story so I can create a proper campaign? And the last thing that we did, going back to freewheel, is we started to do rotations in a campaign. So if we think of a 60, a 30, a 15, and a 6-second ad, and we treated them like a campaign, we wanted to see if it made a difference, which order we put them in through the content. Most of you might be able to guess, but if we started with the 30-second ad, and we finished with the 6-second, over a stream of content. So if we look at a pod now, we say pod 1, we have the 30-second spot. In pod 3, we have at the end of all the content, we have the 6-second spot. You can see that the campaign effect, if you look at, okay, well at the end of the content, they just saw the last ad, and where are they emotionally engaged with my advertising, and presumably and hopefully with my brand. You see that starting with the richer story, presumably, and ending with a reminder has a very significant positive impact in terms of getting people emotionally engaged, to the tune of sort of more than double. Right? So again, a 6-second ad being a reminder of something is what's quite, can be quite a useful way of doing it. Now this was done within one show, but you can imagine a campaign starting with the 60 on TV. As we move into digital, I've got little reminders that trigger the richer, that deeper campaign. So in terms of that snapshot on 6 seconds, there's going to be more data coming out as we're getting deeper into it. And at the same time, we're moving into mobile data collection. We have actually managed to get through the problems of how do we do it. As you can imagine with a webcam, one of our biggest was technology, and then the technology kind of plateaued. So we can, again, work with the iPhones and the Android. The second problem was people watch video like that, and we're looking up at the ceiling instead of their face. So we had an efficiency issue. But we've solved a lot of that, so we're looking forward to enriching this data with further R&D for shorter versus longer content, in addition to the mobile versus computer or TV. So again, just going back and wrapping up on the 6 seconds, they work very well in terms of getting attention, particularly. They work harder with digital natives, and I don't think there's any shocker there. We do require, we would certainly say, going back to that simplicity of focus, don't try and tell a complicated story. It's even more important. We know it's important anyway, but it's even more important with short. And then thinking about campaigns, 6 seconds should be part of a broader campaign, whether it's longer content and triggering longer content, or it's part of a campaign just to say, entice me to do something further. Because most of it is in a mobile environment, So you've got them there. What do teens do? They're fine. They just keep going. They'll go 4 layers down. They'll spend a second on each until they find something of interest, or they move on.